Of course, in Tucker Hobart's first race he ever goes to, Charles Leclerc wins the British Grand Prix. Welcome back to the 305K. I'm Jackson Lang along with Tucker Hobart, a race attendee, as we can call him now. Um, you know, I think we
It's an
start
honor.
with I think we start with just what we consider the big story. And of course, Charles Leclerc wins the British Grand Prix as you were at the race to watch it.
Look, I mean, I think he said it the best out of anyone. Hard times don't or tough times don't last. Tough people last. And I
Oh,
Tough time never lasts. Only tough people last.
look, I can tell you firsthand, like he just seems to have a weight off his shoulders after that. And I think for Ferrari, there's something very important that now they've got both drivers with a race win. And I know that it's still about 100-point difference in the constructors between Mercedes and Ferrari. But I do think that once you have both drivers with a win, once you start to have a few races in a row where it feels like you're closing the gap a little bit, there starts to be a little bit of momentum. It reminds me of 2024, where it was later on the season. But even though Ferrari in that year didn't seem like they had the pace over McLaren, they got a few results in a row, and it sort of propelled that car, gave them some momentum, and closed the gap. This
they
year, I
almost
actually think that
won
they're
it that
quite.
year, which is the crazy
Yeah, they
thing.
did. They were 8 points down or 12 points down, I believe. Um, but this year it's even bigger than that because I think that they are closer to Mercedes in terms of pace, and we're a lot earlier in the year. So I think that this championship is wide open, and I can say from Charles Leclerc's direct eye line that he seems like he's in a lot better spirits after that race. He gave me a cheeky little wink after the after the race.
Yeah.
But he looks at least in a better headspace than Kimi Antonelli, who kind of obviously has struggled with some adversity with things that are out of his control, but clearly it's sort of getting to him. And I think that that's kind of scary if you're Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, there's been now two performances where he's done a lot to at least contest for the race win or contest for like a podium spot, to like Spain and now Britain, and he just mechanical failures, which is something out of his control. But I guess he didn't have a full mechanical failure, but basically a non-issue of his control that derailed his
Hmm.
race, if you want to say it. Um, but that Mercedes is worrying for sure. And I mean, we've said it before, and it continues to just have like I don't even know the way, it just continues to fail.
Well, they're
And it's
struggling
like,
with reliability, yeah, for sure.
mhm,
Yeah, well, I think the big thing this race was they had two kind of strange incidents, and the first one was George, who got a slow puncture, forced in the box early, and not necessarily derailed his race, but it
it
definitely
almost did.
inconvenienced him and made it a lot harder for him to get back. And then he only did because of Verstappen crashing, Lewis getting unlucky with the pit stops. So there was a lot going on here that kind of set it into motion. Um, but then also with Kimmy, it was a really weird moment because I don't think that it's something that it's definitely not a driver error. At
Mhm.
the same time, it's not an engine blowing up. It was a really weird
Yeah.
moment. He ran over the curb and his wheel cover broke. And I can tell you, sitting there without the clearest broadcast audio, at the track, like you have no idea what's going on. And then I figured out that actually no one knew what was going on until after the race because it was such a weird, innocuous moment that it's
Mhm.
really, really discouraging for a driver because he didn't know what was wrong with the car. And obviously, he limped around the track for the last 10 laps, ended up finishing the race, got a penalty, ended up in P16. Um, it's really crushing for Kimmy because he's done everything right. In the last three races, he's really still looked like the stronger of the two Mercedes, in my opinion. It's been maybe a little bit more even, but still, he was quicker than George all weekend. He won the sprint. He outqualified George. He just looked like a stronger driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just think. Sorry, I meant to say he put it on pole as well. He was
Yeah.
clearly the faster driver, and he's just gotten unlucky again, just like in Spain, where he like dunked on Russell and then immediately DNF'd.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, George is definitely getting some luck that he's putting to his favor. And I mean, I kind of want to touch on the Lewis kind of situation near the end of the race. And I mean, it all starts with Max Verstappen crashing. And it was just like, you probably had a good view on it. And it was just like, oh my gosh.
It was kind of funny because it was he crashed at Stowe, and we were sitting at Vale, so looking up at Stowe. It's quite off in the distance. It was right in front of the big Lando stand, which ironically, he goes in the gravel and sits there and looks up, and all of a sudden he's looking at all this bright neon yellow of Lando supporters, kind of his arch rival. I thought that was a little bit of cruel justice. But for me, I honestly was sitting there. I watched Albon go into the pits below me, and all of a sudden there's a lot of oohing. And I was like, do people really give a shit about Albon? He's like P21. Um, and then you look up, and obviously there's a big dust cloud. But I think that the weird thing with this whole situation, that obviously is going to get brought back, but Lewis Hamilton kind of got shafted in the same situation that he did 5 years ago, and this time it was the
Oh
opposite.
my gosh. Yeah. So to kind of get back to the original point, it all kind of had to be set up with the Max crash because that's the reason Lewis came into box. Max crashed with about like 5 laps to go in the race or so. And it brought out a safety.
Oh, sorry, no.
It was
No,
definitely
you're right,
less.
you're right.
It was less.
It was five. It was five. It was five. It was five. I'm losing it.
And Lewis comes in the box because he wants fresh tires and a chance to potentially get by Leclerc. I mean, it's a Ferrari 1-2 at that
Well,
moment.
Leclerc boxed as well. The real reason I think they thought that, one, he almost had free pit stop. He came out just behind Russell on track. Two, I think most people assumed that we were going to get one racing lap. Because if you think about it, 5 laps under the safety car is a long time. That's about 10 minutes. Yeah. And to clear away that car, it didn't go into the barrier, so there wasn't any barrier damage, and there wasn't any car damage.
To take away
it was just kind of beached. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, it was actually very close, and it was just a technicality. I mean, we can touch on that too. We were all told on the broadcast at the circuit, safety car ending, safety car in. And then it just went by the pit entry, and everyone there was like, what the what's going on?
I was talking to Bella actually while it was happening, funny enough, and we were like so annoyed because we were thinking we were getting a racing lap. And at that moment, so we'll get back, again, we keep coming back to this, but Lewis pit thinking that he had a free pit stop, and he gets behind, George doesn't pit, and he's on older tires, and he beats Lewis to the line, or the safety car line, I believe.
Yeah, pit exit line.
So George was granted P2. So we're thinking, this sucks, but we'll at least get a lap of racing. And, maybe Lewis will finally have Abu Dhabi 2021 moment where he's the one with the fresh tires with the one racing lap to go and another Mercedes ahead of him with old tires. But, the safety car keeps going, and, Tucker just mentioned it, but there was a technicality, I guess. But on the broadcast, and you said at the circuit, it said safety car is ending. So we're thinking, all right, here, safety car is speeding up. And then sure enough, it
just
doesn't hit, and it's the last lap, and it can't come in. So
I can speak to the technicality that it was, because it literally was very similar situation to Abu Dhabi 2021, and it's easy to understand in that context. Essentially, when the safety car is going around the track, when we have safety car conditions, the race director can say, all right, lapped cars are going to pass the safety car and go around the track and come up behind the field, and essentially reform the field in order with the lapped cars back at the back of the pack. Excuse me, back at the back of the pack.
Yes.
That one sounded wrong coming out, and then I said it again, and it still sounded wrong.
I think
it does make sense.
You said it right the first time.
Yeah, I think I did. The issue is the race director says lapped cars can overtake on lap 51. And the rule is that you have to have a full racing lap done from the time when lapped cars are allowed to overtake to before the safety car can come in. So by the time those lapped cars are getting told to go past the safety car, it means you have to have a full lap done of the safety car before you can bring it in. And that resulted in lap 52 being that lap. So if the race was 53 laps, we would have gotten that one lap shootout.
So this is why this is why the Lewis situation in 2021 is so messed up, because technically they didn't get that full lap, right?
Exactly. They bypassed that rule in 2021 to get us dramatic racing, which, to be fair, I actually support that decision, because I think that ending the championship under a safety car would have been embarrassing. But it is ironic that Lewis now gets shafted again for the other side of the rule, because they did impose it.
Yeah, I wish there was a rule where if there's a safety car and it is like safe conditions to race, that it has to come in and you get a lap of racing because that just makes for cinema, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know. It was annoying as a Lewis fan to see him not get the P1 and P2. And I mean, even as a Ferrari fan, I'm sure
Hmm.
you were a bit annoyed not to see a 1-2 at that race, but both on the
Yeah,
podium. It's not
and I
like it
can
was a
tell you,
bad finish for Lewis.
look, and I can tell you the crowd certainly wanted it. I always found it interesting. Obviously, Great Britain, you expect the British drivers to get a little bit of support. Behrman barely got any. Norris barely got any. Norris had a decent amount.
Norris had his
George, I
stand,
can
though.
tell you, George has no motion. No one was cheering for George Russell when he came to the pits, when he went around the track. No one, like, actually, no one cared about him. But
It's
Lewis
just
got all the cheers.
yeah.
And another note on Lewis is that he's had a spectacular season, especially all things considered his age, where he was last year at this time.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
and coming into new set of regulations as an old driver, that's not necessarily an easy feat to just adjust to that. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he was definitively unhappy coming out of the car.
He didn't say
And that's
anything
partially down to
on
the
his
race
post
engineering.
race radio.
Yep. But he was definitively, look, he's a man of the people. He loves the crowd. As he's walking, and I'm basing this off of my own like observations and a very specific point, so it's not 100% reliable, but I think it is because it's right after the race when they're kind of not thinking about media. He acknowledged the crowd, he gave a wave, but besides that, he was very concerted, and that makes me feel like he's not feeling too happy about this race result. And
Mhm.
obviously, he has every right to do that, but all things considered, I think he should be quite happy with a home podium. And
Yeah.
regardless of the way the safety car went, he had very good pace. He got unlucky. Obviously, he'll kick himself for that jump start where he got a 5-second penalty. He'll be
Yeah, that
unhappy about the fact that he came out behind George. But besides that, he had very good pace and he's still on track to have a very good season. He's the lead of the two
he's
Ferraris. He's P3 in the
he's
championship.
32 points behind P1 in this championship. He's not far off. And with that way Mercedes has looked, like
Yeah,
anything
absolutely.
anything can
That's
happen.
one DNF and change.
Yeah, so Russell's now I believe 25 points behind P1. Lewis, I said 32, which it's
Hmm.
funny if they
Not
would
very
have like
much at all.
swapped places, they literally would be like 1 point apart right now. So um it's pretty crazy. Like this year is
Yep.
far from over. And we said it a few episodes before, but it was like for Kimmy not to run away with this, he was gonna need a few DNFs. And sure enough, we've basically, or at least not
Yeah.
non-point
We've gotten a
finishes.
couple. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's round nine out of maybe
24.
20 or so.
But
Well, we
probably
lost a few
24, but
races.
realistically 21, unless they add more. If we lose
Yeah.
Bahrain, Jeddah, and Qatar, maybe
Oh, are
Abu
they gonna
Dhabi. I don't
sack
even know.
Qatar as well? Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Qatar, I've heard, is potentially getting sacked, which is fun because that track blows. It is the worst
yeah, we
track in
do
the
talk
calendar.
about that. All right.
I hate that
So
track with a burning passion.
just a little like results from lower down the field. We did have the Racing Bulls in position 6 and 7, which I know is funny,
Yes.
but it is a very good result. Um, and they've been
And
finishing
not to
very
mention
consistently.
home points in his debut for Arvin Lindblad, which
Arvin
is quite good.
Lindblad. Yeah,
Quite good. Very good race.
he surprised me recently, honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, that Racing Bull has been very good. Like the past, I guess, like last year and this year
They've
specifically,
looked
I'd
quite
say.
good. Yeah. I think it's impressive that they've held their own as a second team. They're the only real team that's like a second team. And they've
Yeah,
still looked really strong. Honestly, they looked like the best of the rest this weekend. Like I said in that short video
100%.
that we released. And Alpine still kind of there. They had a
Yeah,
little bit of a down weekend. I don't read too much into that. They've looked there besides that.
yeah,
But the other one is Audi that I wanted to talk about
yeah,
because Bortoleto P8, quite good result. That's the best result in F1.
yeah,
Nico Hulkenberg had his DNF, but at the same time, he qualified decently, was P12, I believe, and got into a
yeah,
little bit of trouble at race start. But he was really mowing through the bottom of this field. I mean, he went down to P20, P17, something like that, and he just worked himself back up. He ended up DNFing at P13, I believe he was in. Um, I actually have high hopes for this Audi team, and that's not just because I have them on my fantasy team, but I really do think they're quality.
hmm
And I think that look, they're finding their footing in the sport because it's a huge change. It's interesting. We spoke to people involved in the team, and one of the big things is that they went from being steak Sauber, which a gambling company in Sauber is not a team that inspires a lot of sponsorships,
Mhm.
to Audi, which is obviously a big corporation, a car
Yeah,
company, a
German,
fun American, yeah, excuse me, not American,
German.
but German, yeah, a very fun like F1 sounding team, and that invites a lot more sponsorship. So this
That's
team is
so
really
yeah.
in a period of transition where they're getting more money involved. Obviously, they have that new sponsorship from Revolut. Um, they're going to have a lot more money involved, and it's looking like they're starting to find their footing and working their way up. Obviously, they're not going to be even with, the top teams soon.
Yeah,
They might not even be
100%.
best of the rest soon, but it looks like they're starting to work their way up from, the clutches of Cadillac and Aston and quite frankly
Yeah.
Haas right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Williams as well. They haven't been great either, in my
Williams as well.
opinion.
They've been terrible.
Yeah, but it was
Albon with
interesting.
another howler.
Uh, hey, that I call that. I finally.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we should have
We
started.
I'm telling you,
Oh, we totally
305
butchered this
Kurse.
intro. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
Um
I wish we had witch hats. We could have
Piastri,
started stirring a pot because we were. Ooh,
I
ooh,
could have gone to
ooh.
the local London Magic store. I am a new filming spot, new city.
Yeah.
This is London now, jolly old London. I did want to say that I feel bad for cursing Piastri. He really got
Yeah.
shafted. Front wing, I saw him going to the pits. I was like, it looks like his entire front of the car was rotated 45 degrees. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
And it's also hilarious when you watch the field go around and you watch the Cadillacs go by, and then 10 seconds later, around comes Piastri. I gave him a little courtesy cheer. I felt bad.
I don't even know if you know this. Did you see that Alonso like almost didn't start the race?
I did not see that actually.
Yeah, so he was like in the middle of like I think it was Maggots and Beckett's, and he
Oh yeah, on the
basically
formation lap.
yeah,
And it looked like he stalled out. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought they ran on board the start. Honestly, I overreacted
yeah.
to that.
It was
Um, Classic Aston. I also saw that the
yeah.
Aston Martin was having such understeer that Lance Stroll was getting his steering locked coming out of cops, which is, for those who don't know, usually a corner where you don't lift, a corner where
And you barely
you
turn your
just,
wheel.
I mean, it's a 90-degree corner, and he was having such understeer that by the time he was on the curve, his wheel was locked like this. Just awful. I was, a kid of my grade and I were spending time at the race together because he was there as well. He's an Aston Martin fan. And look, I said to him, I'm worried about you. I feel bad that you're going off on your own to watch because I don't want you to have to go through this. And he didn't find that funny. But anyways, Aston are not in a good spot right now, and that's their home race, and really it just kept piling on for them.
Yeah. So now going to a race, what would you say is like the cool parts about being at a race and the things you're like, man, this is like much better on TV?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is that you can't see, or you're focused on your part of the track rather than the rest of the track. Obviously, you can see everything on the screen.
Mhm.
Honestly, the big thing is just like, oh, I wish I was here. I wish I was there. The great part is that it feels very personal, and the crowd is spectacular. I mean, one of the great things
Mhm.
is that F1 is such a small sport that there's not really any animosity. You
Mhm.
can go to a Yankee Red Sox game and get into arguments,
Oh,
and that's really
uh-huh.
fun. But I was sitting next to Lando fans, and they were happy for Shaw coming across the line. I wouldn't have been happy for Lando coming across the line, but that's a different story. Maybe it's because I'm American. But it's a great experience, and being where we were, I ended up finding a good spot.
Yeah. Yes,
It's
had
saying
some
hi
good
to some of the
access.
drivers going by. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I,
I
I
mean,
think I think there's a lot to be said. It certainly made me want to go to another one.
100%. Maybe one day we'll get to one together. That'd be good fun.
Maybe we will. Maybe
Maybe.
without press passes, if F1 stops
Uh,
being so stingy and obnoxious, so elitist. They're just giving power to the wealthy.
yeah, exactly. Do we have anything else we need to mention? I mean, you got to go to a race. That's pretty cool. Shaw's wins.
Yeah. Look, I can gush about my experience.
Yeah.
Um, I think I kind of melted when Shaw winked at me. Pause.
Uh,
Look, I think we're going to a few weekends that kind of cater to Ferrari's car.
mm,
Belgium is a race where I really feel confident about either car. There's a lot of corners on that track. There's a decent amount of straights. Obviously, you have uh,
yeah.
the
The
main
one after
straight.
a Rouge.
Yep, and then the straight going to bus stop. It's not quite a straight going to bus stop chicane, but a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of It might be open arrow, not a lot of corners, but the rest of the track is very long, very windy.
Mhm.
A lot of altitude change, and I think that really could work in Ferrari's favor. Hopefully, the weather cools down because our car's been better in colder weather this year.
Mhm.
But I think that it'll be interesting to see how these two teams work it out over the next few weeks, because we could very well see Ferrari take the lead here a little bit in terms of performance. And
Yeah,
maybe that's my arrogance
it
and
might be
hopium, but
my only argument against that is Mercedes has had very good like luck at this track, and I mean that was Lewis's first win before Barcelona 2 weeks ago was his last one.
is that right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Belgium
to me,
24.
I don't know. I don't read into the past year's car stuff. I mean, honestly, the Mercedes car has been very good on straights,
Hmm.
and it's lost out to the Ferrari in a lot of corners.
Hmm.
I honestly like what I look at most is who do I trust going to a track, and right now the
Lewis
Mercedes
Hamilton.
team has not given me as much belief as Ferrari has in
Hmm.
terms of two drivers who I think I trust, as well as a car that I think has more reliable engine power. And I just think that
Hmm.
maybe I'm just a Ferrari fan. That's what I've
It
come to
could be that.
realize.
No, I think you bring up valid points, but I do think counting Mercedes out at a track where they have had success at is a little bit like maybe too early. But we're not at
Yeah,
the review yet, so
maybe.
like you will save that for another time. Um, British
Yeah.
Grand Prix delivered, I'd say, like normal. You obviously got to
Hmm.
go, and I'm still incredibly jealous, but
Yeah.
that's a problem for another time. Um, we'll be
Look,
back in about a
I
week or
think
so.
Leclerc. I think Leclerc saw my determination to say hi to him, and he said, "You know what? I can do that on track."
You know,
I
Tucker,
think he
that's
won that
like the
race.
fifth time you've mentioned that
So
this
I'm taking
episode.
credit for that
I'm
one.
genuinely concerned now. But you can take credit
No,
for
no,
that.
no.
That's
I'm talking about
fine.
the other time. I'm talking about the first. I'm talking about Saturday morning when you saw me, because then he put it on pole that same
Oh,
day,
oh, okay. Wait, no,
and
he
then
didn't.
and then that's why he acknowledged me after the race because he remembered me.
Tucker, he
That's
didn't
what it
put it on
was.
pole. He put it on P2.
Excuse
But
me. He put it on the front row. Close enough.
you know, you're gushing over Leclerc, like which is acceptable. It's fine. And he won the race. It's
Tough
honestly.
times don't last. Only tough people last.
Oh,
Tough time never lasts.
that's also the second time we mentioned that. We have got to stop doing that.
This is gonna be
We'll
hilarious.
Actually, we'll continue doing it in our next episode, which will be next week for the Belgian Grand Prix preview. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you soon.